You're listening to the Empowering Process podcast with your host, Gail Kraft. Listen as she holds frank discussions around how your purpose, being present, and trusting your power impacts your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or developing your vision, you'll find wisdom and insights you can utilize right now. Welcome your host, Gail Kraft.
Well, welcome everybody to the Empowering Process podcast. And I'm your host, Gail Kraft, of this segment today. And we're going to talk just a little bit about anger. And we're going to talk, when I think about anger, I think of what it is that you're reacting to, right? What exactly is it that you're rebelling against, I guess? There are so many reasons, but we're going to cover a few today. So bear with me and absolutely share your comments, whether you agree or disagree. It'd be lovely to talk with you. So we're talking about escaping anger. And this came up because of a conversation that I had with someone, and I gave them a little tool to use. And the conversation was around anger being displayed by overeating. So this person was rebelling against their parents, specifically in this case against her mother, who always said, you need to lose weight, you're not good enough, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. And she actually sneak eats. So she will be on a diet, on a plan, no matter what it is. So no names here. But what happens is she will go and sneak that apple pie and then maybe put some ice cream on that apple pie and maybe a little bit of whipped cream on top of the ice cream that's on top of the apple pie, even though she knows that it affects her diabetes, it affects her blood pressure, it affects her health completely. And this is all in response to escaping the pain that she feels from the judgment, from being told she's not good enough. So many people who use some kind of addictive behavior to escape is basically saying a fuck you to whoever it is. And all of this is basically saying a fuck you to whoever, right? It's just different reasons, but they display themselves in a variety of ways. And so my point being here is that this anger, this feeling has been nurtured and has been growing for a very long time. You ask someone to stop and start eating healthy and start working out and start, drinking more water. And it's just too much, right? You need to first think of, why am I doing, who am I rebelling against? Who is my subconscious mind giving the subconscious middle finger to, right? The tallest finger in the hand. Who is that? And what is going on there? And as you decide that you do want to change your behavior, do it gradually. So for example, in this food example, maybe, rather than detox, when you go for that apple pie, think about, do I really want that? Why do I want the apple pie? And admit why you want, be truthful about, it makes me feel better, right? It makes me feel better because it's a choice I can make. I can control what's going on here. And I'm controlling to do whatever it is, the opposite of what you told me to do. So rather than do that, you can say, well, I will have the apple pie, but maybe not with the ice cream. Do the whipped cream, but maybe not the ice cream. And next time I will have a smaller sliver of apple pie and have the whipped cream. And the next time I will have an even smaller piece of apple pie with no whipped cream, and slowly start to shift your behavior. Now, for some behaviors, mine was smoker. I was a closet smoker and I couldn't gradually give it up. But what I did do was practice those moments when I normally would have a cigarette. Well, what am I going to do instead? Right? So typically between work segments, I would get up and go outside and have a cigarette. So what am I going to do instead? Practice that and see if it works. I typically will have a cigarette in the car on the way to work. What am I going to do instead? Practice that and see if it works. And if that doesn't work, practice something else until you have a series of events that when you are triggered, you know what you're going to do because you've practiced it and it works. There's another hint, if you will, and that worked for me, right? Another way that we might escape anger is with our relationships, either with our spouse, our partner, our significant other. So let me give you an example, one that is often used, and that is cheating on your significant other. Now, many times, not always, but many times, when you get to that point where someone else is incredibly attractive to you, it is not because you're missing out on sex. It's not because you're missing out on even a conversation. What it is that you're feeling, well, maybe not heard. You're feeling that what you have desired in this relationship is not being met. So rather than figure out what it is really that you desire and what's not being met, you go to someone else because they see you the way that you want them to see you, right? And they will soothe that pain. They will make you feel worthy, make you feel like you can do anything during the moment that you're with them. So again, but this is anger that you're lashing out on your significant other, on your partner, on this person that you're destroying the relationship. It could even be a friendship relationship, right? It's because you're lashing out in anger. So get to the root of the anger, and how much of that is your own fault for making choices maybe that you didn't want to make, or making choices that you wanted to make that were only temporary choices and you didn't draw the boundary that said, this is okay for now, but in 3 years, I want to revisit it. In 2 years, I want to revisit this. Instead of saying that, you held back, nurtured and seethed in the anger for a choice that maybe you didn't want to make. We call it compromise, and sometimes compromises make us angry. So be sure that when you are making a compromise, it is not giving up something that is important to you. Understand, giving up what's important to you is not a compromise. And you will hold and harvest anger around making a choice you really didn't want to make. Another example of lashing out with anger would be potentially in your work environment, in your career, in that thing that it is that you're trying to develop, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're not, does not matter. This is when something is not working and you feel invisible, you feel incapable, you feel unworthy, you might even feel a little bit of what is now being called the imposter syndrome. They're going to find out that I'm not as good as I keep telling people I am. What happens is that you start to hold back. And in that holding back, you start to have a little bit of resentment around not achieving what it is that you, on another level, believe that you're capable of achieving, especially in a work environment, especially in your career, but quite frankly, often with entrepreneurs as well. And so as you're feeling this sense of unworthiness, this sense of invisibility, if you will, you start to blame others for putting this on you rather than on looking at yourself and why you're feeling that way. And so in this feeling of unworthiness, in this sense of invisibility, you might make choices that are, I will show you. So for example, you might be in a position at an office in working for someone else where you're just going to quit. I'll show you. You're not paying me what I'm worth. You're not giving me the hours that I deserve. You're not satisfying the needs that I'm asking you to satisfy. These are important to me. So I'm just going to give you the middle finger and I'm going to leave and I will show you. Now, many times that is appropriate, right, to leave if the situation is one that you cannot control. If it's a situation that you're in control of, how are you showing up? What are the things that you're doing that contribute to the situation? Because it takes two sides. Do the best that you can to be sure that the anger that you're feeling towards someone else is not an act of blame, but an act of, I have boundaries and I have values and they're not being met. I have voiced these are my boundaries. I have voiced that these are my values and they're still not being met. How important are they? If I rank them, if they're in my top 5, then I must leave. If they're not in my top 5, then I need to reevaluate why I'm angry and what is going on here. Just some thoughts. These are things that I work on with my clients. I will tell you that I've had clients that have come to me feeling invisible, and in no time they feel invincible. I've had clients that come to me that are in complex relationships, and I've had them end up feeling empowered and in control and in love. I've had clients that have come to me with addictive behaviors, and we've gotten to the root of what's going on, and they have felt love for themselves and for others and embraced the change. So it doesn't take much to want to shift, but it takes work to actually make the shift. This is Gail Craft from The Empowering Process. It was wonderful talking to you. I would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your pain, your anger. Share that with me, and I'd maybe do another podcast. PM me if you are interested in knowing a little bit more about what I do and how I can do this for you, your career, or your business. Gail Craft signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.